Now you're making me all...
See?
Hola, muy buenos días. Good morning. Welcome to Cafecito Live. We are live at the Trellix Xpand conference in Las Vegas. I hope you are doing well, staying safe. My name is Patricia Mota, and I serve as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. We are a nonprofit, national in scope, headquartered in Chicago, whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing our community the insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. And if you're looking for your next career move, make sure to participate in HACE's virtual career fair taking place tomorrow. There's still time to sign up. Make sure that we can get you all registered and good to go to interact with the employers that are seeking to connect with you. And so, welcome to Cafecito con HACE. If you're new, welcome. Make sure you are sharing in the comment section where you're tuning in from, and most importantly, how you prefer your cafecito. We're here with Michael Alicea, who is the Chief HR Officer at Trellix. And Michael, buenos días, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy bien,
La primera pregunta, the first
dime.
question that we have here in Cafecito es ¿cómo te gusta tu cafecito prepared?
Con crema.
Con crema.
Con crema. Bueno, me gusta.
Buenos días.
So I personally like a nice, strong coffee with half and half. It's a New York thing mostly, but I'll tell you, when I grew up with a big mug with a lot of milk and crackers.
¿Y un cafecito?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mostly is leche con café. mucha crema, café. Bueno, we want to hear, and those of you stay safe in Florida. I see some of you are tuning in from Florida. I know the storm that's making its way on the East Coast. Please stay safe. And let's hear from you in terms of how you prefer your café in the morning or your morning beverage of choice, because we also know there's some non-coffee drinkers, believe it or not, that
unbelievable
join us in the morning. Bueno, Michael, one of the things that I love about our Cafecito con HACE and a lot of our avid listeners and folks that tune in is the stories that we get to hear from fellow Latinos that are in senior level roles, such as yourself. So tell us about who you are, your background, how you got to being in an executive role as a chief HR officer.
It started like many other of our people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just, I grew up in an environment where, and we've had many conversations around this,
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't have anybody in a network that actually had a corporate job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the highest aspiration that my dad had for me really was to join the military or become a cop and a fireman or something like that, which is great. I think that's all fantastic professions, but it wasn't sort of my calling. And so I figured out, well, where can I make the most amount of money? And of course, finance kept coming up. So I went to school. I went to Baruch College and I took finance, and I was dead broke. And so one summer, I had a great professor who said, "Hey, we're doing this salary survey. Could you help me do this for a summer project to get paid?" And of course, went ahead and did that, and it was a really successful project. And he came back to me and he said, "You're really good with numbers, but you're better with people." Right? And you should think about HR. You should think about it as a career. So that's one of those things where I had a great ally and gave me some great support. And I changed my major into HR. But I also realized that because I didn't have a network, I felt like I always had to outwork everyone, right? I had to outwork long hours, the jobs that nobody else wanted. But what that did is it actually created a different brand for me. So they knew that when something had to get done, this is the guy you want to call.
Michael's gonna get it done.
That's right. And as time went on, I became a COO. I became head of communications, and so we had a variety of different things that sort of came my way because of that brand that elevated me to this point. And luckily, I'm also a board of director member of a public company called Emerald Expo, ticker symbol EEX, so you can look it up. And that's how I got here.
Wonderful. And this is amazing insight. We have someone who's here with us sharing their time, their insights, a Latino that's also serving on a board. That's 4%, right? A Latino that's serving in an executive role, if you look at the data, that's 4%. And so we have the need to accelerate and ensure that we're increasing that representation on the top. And so it's critical that we're having these type of conversations. So you all may be wondering, right? We're the sign that you see in the back, and we're here for a couple of reasons. Not only is Trellix one of HACE's newest partners in ensuring that we're promoting and building the pipeline of talents into cybersecurity roles, cybersecurity companies, right, in various roles. And we also had the opportunity to bring some of our Mujeres de HACE inaugural tech cohort that are here also joining us, that we've got to connect with in person. So Trellix Live, the Xpand Live conference. Tell us what this is all about, what folks should know about what we're doing here.
Great. Well, Trellix is one of the leading cybersecurity firms in the world. It is a combination of two companies that came together, and we rebranded in February. And I joined last year. And one of the things that I saw was the fact that, people of color and women make a small percentage of the overall cybersecurity set of people that work in that industry. And to be honest with you, I felt like I had an opportunity to change that. And one of the first people I called, if you recall, I was actually in Hawaii.
Yeah, I do.
And I called you, and I think it was the middle of your night, because I'm really not good with time. I'm a New Yorican from New York. It's just Eastern time all the time, every time. So I didn't, so I'm sure it was like, 1 o'clock in the morning. But Patricia, if you know her, she pops in right away, super energetic. Like I'm like, I see, just like that. And we had a conversation about creating an accelerator program that actually will bring greater Latinos, more Hispanics into cybersecurity. And the rest is history. That's kind of how we roll.
Yeah, so stay tuned if you are looking to learn more about that program that we're getting ready to roll out. Just stay connected to HACE, as we'll continue to send communications on what that looks like. But Michael, I think one thing that, from our history of knowing each other, your previous work, your organizations, your connection to HACE, is that you, which I think is critical in the HR world and the future of work, is thinking innovatively in terms and intentionally in terms of how are we going to build the pipeline? How are we going to ensure that we're advancing talent? And I have to tell you, Michael, all the conversations that we have are gearing towards that. It's like, okay, let's try this out, let's do this. And that's what it takes, right? And I think for a lot of our partners, we can build all the talent, we can refer all the talent, but if internally you don't have senior leaders or executives that are willing to do the work internally, it's that equity piece, right? Whether it's structures, policies, programs that are helping to really help folks feel that there's a sense of belonging within the organization, and that there's opportunities for them, and that they're being seen, heard, and valued. And as soon as I walked into this Trellix conference to get registration, I have to tell you, it was very welcoming, very warm. Y así es nuestra cultura, right? That's our culture in terms of being familial, being a family, community. And so what other things should folks know? And I want to share with you all, if you have any questions, get your questions, put them in the chat. We have some time to be able to address some of those questions with Michael here in this conversation as well. But what else is it going to take for this future work? I want the folks to hear from you, because you are so innovative and you have these ideas in terms of what is it going to take for the future of work for employers to consider.
Well, I think, it's an interesting thing. We often talk about this this concept of, it's the it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, it is the right thing to do, but actually it's the smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
From a business perspective, businesses that are diverse
Mm-hmm.
perform better.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses that are led by diverse leaders do better. In fact, I think research points out that businesses led by women actually do the best.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, but you know, like, it's data, right? I have a data background. This is what it is. But the truth of the matter is that you have to create an environment where it's part of the DNA of the organization. And that's one of the things that I love about HACE. You know, in my prior role as CHRO and CPO of Nielsen and Nielsen IQ, it was one of the things that I really admired about HACE, and one of the reasons why I made that call in the middle of the night to you. Thank you for picking up. Is that HACE has always been about bringing that energy and that level of enthusiasm, and bringing, quite frankly, talent to the game. Now, you're right. The big I in inclusion is super important. The equity piece is super important. It doesn't matter if you have one Hispanic or 500. If they're not in the meetings where the decisions are being made, then ultimately it's always going to be about, oh, let's get the next one, right? You know, and that's my goal. That my goal is to get more managers that have that mindset to go higher. And in our organization, we measure it. We measure it. I sit down with the CEO, Brian Palma. By the way, we should have him on a cafecito.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
He's not, he's not Hispano, pero,
hey,
we
always say it, HACE, we're Latino serving, not Latino exclusive. We welcome everyone to be part of our conversations, our programs, our events, because that's how we're going to move the needle and build more allyship, right? That's you talked
totally
about
agree.
That as well.
Well, that was one of the things, because quite frankly, I'm good. I didn't need to work. I wanted to work, and I met with Brian, and he totally got it. He got the vision of what we can do.
I always share that story when I'm talking about Michael as well, because you're like, hey, I was kind of looking at retirement and kind of just, I was good where I was at, but it gave you too the leverage to say, I'm not going to take anything unless I know that it's going to align with my values, and I'm going to be able to have that decision making to really influence what's right. And that was a conversation I remember you said what you had with Brian.
Yeah. And he was like, he's in. If he's in, I'm in. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that we have to do in some of these senior leadership roles, we have to give back. We have to make sure that, the effort that it took for us to get where we are is not the same effort that someone else needs to make. That we need to sort of, make a pathway for folks, right? And part of the conversation then becomes, okay, so what do we want to get out of this? To me, I think there's a very unique opportunity in the tech space in particular. We give it lip service, but we're not putting our money where our mouth is. We're actually not driving it consistently. We have firms which pay firms that talk about diversity, but they actually don't bring talent to the table. That's the other reason why I love HACE, because you actually do that. You put your money where your mouth is, and you partner with companies to do that. And so this is an opportunity for tech organizations to be able to drive accelerator programs just like this. This is really not just about one thing. It's about a slew of things that we can do. That's why we invited your cohort here. Right? We could have very easily just said, hey, Patricia, come, we'll do cafecito. You'll have nice dinner in Las Vegas. But that's really not ultimately the value. We want to show.
Although dinners and all that are nice, right? I think
dinners are nice.
It was nice too. Our Mujeres Hacen Tech cohort was the first time that they're meeting in person, right? Because it was a virtual program and they were connecting, and so that was another value. But also, you all invested in saying, hey, we're going to be able to, get travel and you all to come here and to connect and to connect with Trellix and to learn more about this space. I know many of you are getting seeing an increase in terms of, at least for me, right? Spam emails, things coming up. I was like, there's an increased need for cybersecurity, right? And because there's a lot more threats that are happening, I should say. Right?
Well, that's actually a great lead-in, because we talk about this concept of soulful work.
Yes, right? That's what I wanted.
And soulful work really is something that we've been talking about here. Look, what we do is good.
Mhm.
You know, we're helping
Mhm.
our country, and by the way, the world.
Mhm.
Many governments use us,
Mhm.
as well as businesses, to safeguard
Yep.
their assets. You know, you don't want your grandmother getting caught in a scam and her
Yeah.
money going away, right? This is good work. This is not about preying on anybody's insecurities. You know, I'm not casting any issues against other organizations, but from a tech perspective,
Mhm.
this is soulful work. There's
Mhm.
meaning and there's purpose,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Meaning and purpose. And, you know, as Latinos, this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is who we are, right? Our families are important. We like meaning. We like the
Mhm.
purpose, right? And so that's soulful work.
Yeah.
And the soulful work is going to take a variety of shapes, right?
Absolutely.
We don't believe. So this
Mhm.
is the interesting, and we've had this conversation.
Mhm.
You don't need a 4-year degree to be in cybersecurity. And for the past, 30 years, 40 years, that's been the case. And it's the same folks, if you look on LinkedIn, who get promoted and go from one company to another company.
Mm.
We take from others, they take from us. And it's the same, couple
Being
hundred
rotated
people
around.
that run around in
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
circle. What we want to do is open that up a bit, right? We want people to graduate from accelerator programs
Mhm.
like HACE is
Mhm.
creating, which is
Mhm.
not a degree program, but it's a certification.
Mhm.
2-year degree companies where organizations that have tech as part of their core. I feel that's the same thing.
Yeah.
You have smart people,
Mhm.
you develop them, you train them, you can get them to do anything. And I know the people of HACE, they're there, right? We
Mhm.
can get that to happen. So
Amazing.
I'm super excited to
Yeah.
get, you
Oh,
can
we
see
are
I'm jumping.
too.
I said, Patricia, we had 20 minutes. Can we take 50? Can we take 60? But, Patricia, she's like, no, you can't.
It's a pilot, right? And I think that's one thing I love about the work that we've been able to do at Asset is as our programs is continuously evolved, is because we try new things, right? Mujeres de Asset and Tech was a new cohort. We did a cohort in entrepreneurship, and now we're looking at how do we build these accelerators to help individuals to get meaningful careers, right? Which are life changers when you're thinking about the
Yeah.
communities, our
Yeah.
families, and the ripple effect economically that has in our communities. And so I know we have a few minutes left, and so we'll take a question if there is any. Michael is on LinkedIn. You can connect with him on there. We know we have many folks that are engaging through LinkedIn. And I always like to wrap up on a positive note in terms of asking our guests in terms of what are you most hopeful for the remainder of this year, because believe it or not, I think we have 3 months left.
3 months left.
Time flies. This year has flown by. It's a good time. I love to take this time to reflect in terms of what goals have been met, what can be done, but always, there's so much negative out there, but always staying positive in terms of what are the things that we are looking forward to and hopeful for.
Well, first of all, my heart, my prayers, my wishes to everyone in Florida.
Yeah.
I know you're going to go through a difficult time here, so my prayers are with you. So let's start off with that.
Absolutely.
If nothing else, let that be the case.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, this is a great year. If by the end of the year we can get that accelerator program up and running, and we could start bringing those folks into Trellix and other organizations. I've started reaching out to my colleagues to say, hey, this is a real deal.
Yeah.
You better hop onto this now, because you're not going to be able to do it in the future, right? Now, whether or not they listen to me or not, but you got to sell a little bit, right? But that's the point, right? That's the point that we have the ability to start something very special. And Trellix is a very special organization. And at the end of the day, I think it is a match made in heaven.
Oh, that's wonderful. We are very much looking forward to that. I think, again, for those of you that know me, we've built a relationship over the last couple of years, is this type of things in terms of building something that's not out there, that helps, our mission moving forward for ensuring meaningful jobs, and that folks are having access to that excites me, right? And so we are just super excited. We want to continue to hear from you, continue to leverage this platform, whether you're networking in the comments section. If you have any questions, we'll always go back and share this also with Michael. He's on LinkedIn, and connect with him there. Pero Michael, mil gracias for joining us in Cafecito con Ace.
Gracias.
He's Ace partner, future board of director coming in January. I know we'll do formal announcements, but since you're on Cafecito,
Awesome. Thank you.
You all got the first
The scoop. You got the scoop.
The highlights. Pero mil gracias. Thank you everyone for joining us. Y hasta la próxima. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.